Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today is day 124 of the ongoing war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine, and today we're going to have a quick look at the tactical map, specifically in the Sloviansk, Lysychansk, Bakhmut pocket. And the first thing that you will notice in this ongoing conflict, specifically within the conflict zone in the far east of Ukraine, you will notice the force density in which the Ukrainians are now fighting. Right now, if we count off all the brigades running from the east of the M3 highway, we believe this is the secondary fallback line, as opposed to the current positioning of forces. And I got to tell you, a very, very precarious situation right now for Ukrainian forces. One, given the force density and just the way the map is evolving with this massive encirclement and this salient that has been created, in which the Russians are now able to pummel Ukrainian forces from multiple directions. And it's just not a good position if you are the Ukrainian forces. Now, if we look at the brigade deployments that are listed in this map, obviously it's probably a bit different than the actual reality on the ground. I would imagine some of these units are in the process of being withdrawn, especially some of these heavier units such as the 17th Tank Brigade. If it is still even an effective fighting force, it's very highly probable that the 17th probably is down to about 30% of its operational main battle tanks and armored infantry fighting vehicles after the lengthy conflict this brigade has been in for this amount of time. But if we look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and if you count the 57th, that's kind of just on the outskirts of this pocket, you're looking at the better part of 12 brigades of the Ukrainian military. We're probably looking at anywhere from 30 to quite possibly as many as 50,000 Ukrainian personnel that are at risk of eventually being surrounded. Now, I would look quite possibly for the Russians to do something else, given the way the battlefield is evolving. Right now, I believe that the Russians could have a strategic opportunity in regards to kind of what we're seeing right now on the ground. And if these Ukrainian forces do not pull back, again, depending on where the new center of gravity for the Russians to strike could pose serious detriment to Ukrainian forces. Now, we've heard reports of continued buildups south of Izum, and in all probability we could see a continued thrust down the M3 highway towards Sloviansk. But I would also say the area south of Popasna along this M3 highway as well could be an area where we could see a renewed Russian push against Ukrainian forces. But again, where the Ukrainians are right now in terms of this positioning battle is not a good position for the Ukrainians to be in. Again, the Russian heavy artillery on the northwestern flank of this salient is able to hit targets on the southern flank of this salient, or the right flank of this salient, and really at any point of this salient, the Russians are able to pummel Ukrainian forces. and it is again just really a dire situation right now for Ukrainian forces, and you would think by watching some of the local Western media, at least some of the media that I watch, you would think that Russia is on the precipice of being defeated by Ukrainian forces. And I got to tell you, the information that is being cranked out by some of the mainstream media, especially here in the United States, is really kind of ridiculous, given what's happening right now that you can visually and physically see on the battlefield taking place, and it's very difficult to get good information. And part of that obviously is because the Ukrainian government is doing really a wonderful job in terms of creating propaganda that is trying to stabilize the morale of both the Ukrainian people and the armed forces of Ukraine. But it has to be known, at least on the ground in some of these locales, that what is being said in all probability is not what is actually occurring, and we're starting to get information on the sheer size and scope of the casualties that the Ukrainian military have taken, and it's really just a vicious war that is taking place, and it's really the gloves have come off to a certain extent when we see what has happened in the course of the conflict and just how brutal it has gotten really on both sides. So, I've talked about the social contract, and I think that has been broken really for both sides. And ultimately, at this point, both sides are looking for a military outcome. Now, obviously, the initial successes of the Ukrainian military early in the conflict may have a impact on the continuation of the conflict, if that makes sense. And unfortunately for the Ukrainians, what we're seeing now does not represent what was occurring early, and what was occurring early does not represent what is taking place now in the conflict. The Russian strategy has changed, and with that change, we continue to see basically the wholesale destruction of the Ukrainian field army in the east. Real quick, go over to the other map and just kind of give you an idea, because that tends to update sometimes a little quicker. And yeah, as you can see, it's basically the same. Lysychansk is really facing the possibility of complete encirclement, and those forces that are kind of in that pocket in Lysychansk that have withdrawn. And obviously you have the 24th Mechanized Brigade, you have a territorial brigade, the 111th Territorial Brigade. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically elements of 5 Ukrainian brigades, depending on the personnel allocation currently. And obviously all these forces have been degraded, probably to a fairly significant extent, and we will probably see that continue to happen, unfortunately for the Ukrainian forces. But we continue to see the Russians hit targets all throughout western and eastern Ukraine with cruise missile attacks. I've talked about that before, and that is continuing to occur. And really, that's kind of the narrative for today in terms of what we're seeing. It would appear that Russian forces have solidified its gains just across the border from Kharkov. I would imagine at a certain point post, if the Russians are eventually able to seize control of Kramatorsk and Sloviansk and kind of push this out a bit, that may be the next objective. But I would think just on basic military strategy and kind of what's happening right now with this pocket that's being formed, I would say look for something else to happen. Right now, the Russians probably have the Ukrainians in a situation where they could execute another center of gravity strike in a different locale, maybe not far, maybe farther from the current eastern area of operations in the Sloviansk, Bakhmut, Lysychansk triangle. But we'll continue to monitor and report, obviously, if that does occur. But it could occur, and it would probably be it would be very advantageous for Russian forces to conduct said operation at this point. But we'll have to see what happens. Again, some of these maneuver operations have not gone very well for Russian forces, and it's just kind of the technology of war as it has evolved, especially for some of these armored units that come into play. But that's kind of where we sit, and obviously we will have more very, very soon. Again, thanks for joining us, and we will talk again very soon. Have a good day.